Ernest Hemingway tells the story of Palo. Palo was estranged from his father and had run away from home. His father went to Madrid and took out an advertisement in the local paper in the personal columns. And the advertisement read, "Palo, meet me at Hotel Montana, noon Tuesday, all is forgiven, Papa." On Tuesday, over 800 Pacos showed up. 800 wanting to be forgiven. Having trouble with forgiveness? Based on my several weeks with you, based on my observations, our church is having trouble with forgiveness. There are strained relationships here. Let's face the fact that our church is in crisis. I wonder how many have left our church because we couldn't get along with each other. How many have left this church because their feelings were hurt by something that was said or something that was done and they could not forgive them? They jumped ship rather than forgive. Some have left because of what a pastor said or did. I have had people leave the church because of something I've said. But forgive your pastors. Even if you have no contact with them or can't see them, forgive them in your heart. Think of the energy it takes to hold on to anger and hurts and disillusionment. Energy that cripples, that staggers, that strangles, that inhibits. I see a great deal of energy expended on either trying to find personal forgiveness or forgiving others. And as a result, people find themselves tied up in knots, afraid to risk, afraid to be creative, uncomfortable with themselves, uncomfortable with others, emotionally paralyzed, overwhelmed, suffocated, unable to move forward, all because they won't forgive or because they need to be forgiven. Sisters and brothers, our church is in crisis. We've been in crises before. We've suffered them. In the 70s, we lost 1/2 of our church. 1/2. But we survived. And let us now together not only survive, but thrive. We must get along. We need each other. Together we serve. We are one in the Spirit. We are one in the Lord. So how do we turn the church around? How do we thrive? We begin with forgiveness. Who do you need to forgive? Go up to them, or visit them, or phone them, and say, we need to talk. And then say, forgive me, from your heart. If they are unaware of what they have done to hurt you, or if they don't ask for forgiveness, tell him, her, them how you have been hurt. Tell them how you feel. Confront the offender. Jesus said this principle in Matthew 18:15, if someone sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. Unquote. Sometimes the hurt is so deep, a neutral person, an arbitrator is needed. For Jesus continued, But if he does not listen, take 1 or 2 others along with you, that every word may be confirmed by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses, unquote. Sometimes it's helpful to do something when words are not enough. Do something. In Roman Catholic tradition, the priest often gives the confessor something to do. It's called an act of penance. Well, we Methodists believe in justification by faith, but there are times when an act is called for. If you have hurt someone, if you have offended someone, an act of penance might help. Take flowers. Go wash their car. Do something. But what if there is still no response? What if they don't listen? What if they don't understand what you're talking about, or they don't want to understand? What if they don't change and they continue the behavior? What if they don't ask to be forgiven? Do you still forgive? Yes, said Jesus. Peter asked Jesus in Matthew 18:21-22, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? How often? As many as 7 times? Peter asked. Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but 70 times 7. In other words, countless times. Jesus knew that you must continually forgive because unforgiveness hurts the offendee rather than the offender. The one you end up punishing is yourself, not them. Because the anger, the bitterness, the self-pity, the revenge eat at your insides and make you sick, physically, emotionally, and you're no fun to be around. Now, besides asking for forgiveness, do you need to ask someone to forgive you for what you said or did? And are you uncomfortable to ask someone to forgive you? If you're uncomfortable, do it anyway. Beyond the church, are you having trouble with forgiveness in your family, or in your neighborhood, or in your workplace? Who do you need? Who do you need to forgive, and who do you need to ask to forgive you for what you said and did? Well, let's back up. What is forgiveness? You've heard the old adage, forgive and forget. But what if you can't forgive? You can try to forget, but the more you try to forget, the more you concentrate on it, the more unforgettable it becomes. Forgiveness does not mean forgetfulness. Matthew Fox, in his book Original Blessing, writes, forgiveness is another word for letting go. Being forgiven means to let go. Let go of the guilt, let go of the memory, let go of the pain. Forgiving others and being forgiven means to let go of the hurt. Let it go and let them be whomever they have chosen to be. Let them be different. Let them have mannerisms which irritate you. Let them be obnoxious. Let them be obstinate. Let them be themselves. You can't live another person's life. You can't manipulate, coerce, or direct someone else's life. You can only control your life. You can only decide how you will live. You can't decide how someone else will live. You can only decide how you are going to live in relation with them. Let them be. If you refuse to forgive, the bitterness, the anger, the hurt will cripple you, not them. Let them be themselves and let the hurt go. Yes, there is pain. Matthew Fox wrote, "Salvation is not a salvation from pain, but through pain." Through pain. The cross of Jesus Christ on which he painfully died is our spiritual journey too. On the cross, Jesus knew pain. He was not denied pain, but he lived through pain. It is not possible to escape pain. It is not possible to live your life without hurting someone else. Nor is it possible to live your life without someone hurting you. So give the pain to God. Let it go. Trust God to accept your confession, forgive you, and give you the power to go forward. Act as if you are forgiven. Walk by faith as a forgiven person in Jesus Christ. I repeat, we are a church in crisis. We've been there before, and we have survived. But let us now together not only survive, but thrive. We have dedicated leaders and workers who, because of their loyalty and their love of our church, outdo themselves. Outdo themselves. But they can't last forever. We need each other. How do we thrive? How do we turn our church around? Paul tells us how. Paul was very clear. We heard it in the scripture lesson. Paul said, "As God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience." He says, bear with one another. Bear with each other. And if anyone has a complaint against another, forgive each other. Just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive, he says. And above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. And let the peace of Christ rule in your heart.